Okay, so I'm going to talk about the rig and equipment I use to take trips and make money using Uship. My name is Nicholas Johnson and this is the Space Warehouse. This is my truck. It's a 2003 Ford F-250 Superduty. And for those of you who don't realize how old you've gotten, that makes this an 18-year-old truck. I specifically went for the 5.4 liter gas model, and I made that decision definitely not because it has more power. Compared to the diesel, this thing is slow and weak. But it's super easy to maintain, gas for it is super cheap, parts for it are super cheap, and it's actually really easy to fix and just keep running. And while pulling a fully loaded 26-foot trailer, this thing still manages to get 10 to 11 miles per gallon. Pretty efficient. Also, I just hit 300,000 miles on this truck and it doesn't leak anything, it barely burns any oil, and it runs really smoothly. A huge benefit to buying a super old rig like mine compared to one that's just a few years old is that you can get like a luxury version for a tenth of its original price. Mine is the Lariat. It's all leather, power everything, 4x4 with a transmission cooler, and I bought the thing for $5,000 a few years ago. I mean, this had to be like a $40,000 truck new. And I assume that when it was new, it probably ran pretty much like it does now, because it runs without any problems at all. I love that thing. As for my hauling rigs, I have two of them. And based on my trip and what I'm able to find to bring along, that determines which trailer I'm pulling. Option A is the comfort option. It's my toy hauler RV. It's a 28-foot bumper pull camper with basically like a 13-foot garage in the back that has a ramp, so you can roll up some motorcycles or ATVs or a UTV or whatever other crap that you can roll up in there. I can also keep that thing temperature controlled throughout the whole drive, so if I have art or if I have animals or something, then that's the one I'll go with. Also, it's a house, so you don't have to worry about hotels, and you can cook your own meals on the road. The downside, of course, is that you can only fit 13 feet worth of things in there, which means no cars, no motorcycle UTV combos, and no like entire apartment moves, which can a lot of times be worth a lot of money. So if I do find those higher paying loads, that's when I go with option number 2, which is my 26-foot enclosed car hauler trailer. This trailer can obviously carry a lot heavier stuff and a lot more stuff, and it's easier to roll things into because it's lower to the ground, and it has way more space. It also pulls easier, even if there's heavy stuff inside of it. And I think that's because of a combination of two different things. It's got a lower height overall, so less wind resistance. And I have E-rated tires on there, which can pump up to 80 PSI. More air in the tire equals less rolling resistance, which equals easier to haul. E or D rated tires is an upgrade that I would suggest anybody gets if you got a big trailer and you're pulling heavy stuff kind of a long way. It actually improves your gas mileage quite a bit. For me, it lets my truck stay in the final drive gear most of the time, so it's not shifting between 4th and 5th gear, or I don't have to keep it in the hauling mode. My RV has the wimpy little, soft little, I think 60 PSI tires on them, so it can carry less weight and it's harder to pull. The downside of the cargo trailer is if I'm going across the whole country, I now have to either sleep in my truck or sleep in the trailer, weather permitting, or lose some of my profits to hotels, which is usually fine because you can usually make a lot more profit with a lot more space. Usually. Sometimes you just can't find stuff. So that's when you take the RV. Having a big truck and two big trailers, of course, requires you to have a place to put all of that stuff, which is another thing that you need to consider. Lucky for me, past me made some good choices a bunch of years ago when I just decided I needed more space to like do stuff and store things and build things and like just, I don't know, work on vehicles. And I found this little piece of land just a couple miles from where I live in Orlando, Florida. And I got a tree trimming company to dump a bunch of mulch on there, and it's just my spot to keep everything and f*** around at. So that is my Uship setup. I've had everything and I've been using it for the last couple of years and I think it's going pretty well. Uship.